All right, so I wrote out all my perfect squares. Again, you don't have to rewrite them all again in your notes, but just make sure you have them boxed where it's easy to see. So let's work this. Is there anything I can another whole number I can multiply the 3 with? No, so just bring it down. 3. And then 12 times 6 is what? 72, so that's going to be the square root of 72. Now ask yourself, is square root of 72, is that a perfect square? No. Okay. Now, but then I'm going to ask, can that 72 be divided by any of these perfect squares? And find the biggest one. What's the largest one? Which one? There's a bigger one. So 9 will go into it, and you can do it, it's just going to add extra steps. 36. So yep, so this can be broken down as square root 36. And 72 divided by 36 is how much? 2. So keep my square roots. And then you just bring the 3 down. You're still just bringing it in front. Okay. All right, bring the 3 down again. Square root of 36 is how much? So we said it's a perfect square, so it equals 6. Square root of 2, can I break that down anymore? No. So leave it square root of 2. So from here, or at this step, am I finished? What's the last thing I can do here? Yeah, we can multiply the 6 and the 3, right? Because those are both just normal whole numbers. So 6 and 3 gives me 18. And then just put the square root 2 right next to it. All right, so we multiply these. Square root 5 times square root 10 gives me a what? Perfect. Square root of 50. Now, is square root of 50 a perfect square? No, it's not a perfect square. Okay. So what I need to do is see if this can be broken down more, though. Do y'all remember at the beginning of the year? At the beginning of the year, we broke down and simplified radicals. Y'all remember doing that with the factor trees? And it was like dividing out primes and all that. Y'all loved doing that, right? It was so much fun. The sarcasm. Most people did not like that at all. Okay, I'm going to show you what I believe is an easier way of doing this. And the reason we didn't do this at the beginning of the year is because we weren't using calculators. Okay, we did the other way because it's easy to do without calculators, but it takes a long time to divide each one by like a prime number, 2, 3, 5, 7 type of thing, right? Okay, but this one, what I want to do is break it out, and I want to write all my perfect squares up to 8. You can keep going if you want to, but I'm just going to do the 8. So 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is how much? 16. 5 squared. 6 squared. 7 squared. 8 squared. Okay. And I'm going to box these just so it's easy to look and find. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to highlight all these numbers on the right because these are my actual perfect squares. Okay? These are the numbers I'm actually going to be working with. And as we said, we've talked about perfect squares are the ones that if you square root them, they come out as a whole number. Okay? So what I need to do is look at my square root of 50 and ask myself, do any of these perfect squares divide into 50 evenly? If it does, then it will, I can simplify this more. If it doesn't, then this is as simple as it can already get. So start with the big number. So I have 50. 50 divided by 64. Does that come out even? No. What about 49? No. 36? 25? Yeah. 50 divided by 25. So I can break this down. That's the square root of 25. Don't forget your square root there, symbol there. And 50 divided by 25 is how much? 2. So square root 2. And remember, those are multiplying times each other. Okay, I just broke it out. Square root 25 times square root 2. Everybody tracking so far? Questions? All right, now I just need to simplify each of these. Square root of 25 is what? Just a normal 5. Okay, and when it's a perfect square like that, you get rid of the radical. Okay, it just becomes 5. Times square root of 2. Is square root of 2 a perfect square? Sure? No, 2 squared gets me to 4. But the perfect squares are the ones on the right. Like if you take the actual square root of 2, it's going to give you a decimal. So no. Okay? So it's not a perfect square, but then I got to ask myself, can 2 be divided by any of these numbers, perfect squares, and come out even? Can I do 2 divided by any of those perfect squares? Which one? 2 divided by 64 gives you a... No. Yeah, I think you are doing them back. You're flipping around backwards. You have to do the 2 divided by them. And if you look, all these numbers are bigger than 2, right? So if they're automatically bigger than 2, you know it's going to give you a decimal. So the answer is no, I cannot divide any of those evenly. So it's going to be, we leave it square root of 2. Okay? Can I combine a 5 and a square root of 2 for my purposes here? For when we simplify? No, not without a calculator. Think about it that way. If I can't put it together and it not come out as a decimal, then I can't do it. So what I'm going to do is just, last step, just put those together. 5 square root of 2. Square root of 6 times square root of 6. What's 6 times 6 give me? 36. So this will be a square root of 36. What is the square root of 36? 6. It's a perfect square, right? If you want to make note of that, perfect square. And it just equals 6. And that's my answer. Think about our vocabulary. What does perfect square mean? So yeah, perfect square is a number that can be square rooted and it comes out as a whole number, right? It doesn't come out as a decimal. All right? All right, this time, this one has a 5 and a 3 in the front. Can I multiply those 2 whole numbers? A 5 and 3? Yeah. Everybody. Yes, Mr. Bodie. Absolutely. So 5 times 3 is what? 15. And then I have the 2 radicals, the square root of 2 and square root of 2. What do those multiply to give me? What is it? Just 4? Square root of 4, right? Because they're both square roots. So we have to keep that square root symbol when we multiply them. Okay, now we got to see if this can simplify some more. 15. Can't simplify anymore, so just bring it straight down. Square root of 4. What does that simplify to? 2. Square root of 4 is just 2, right? Once again, that's a perfect square. So it's 2. So it's 15 times 2. What's 15 times 2? 30. All right, so this time it's got division in it. So is there anything I can divide that 5 with? Any other whole numbers there to multiply or divide the 5? No. So I'm just going to bring it down and just leave it at the bottom, right where it was at, 5. Now, I know I have 2 radicals, square root 4 and the square root 16. I can divide those, right? And that's square root 4 divided by square root 16. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it out to the side here. I'm going to say square root 4 divided by square root 16. And remember, that's the same thing as saying, we talked about this on the first slide, that's the same thing as saying making 1 radical and doing 4 divided by 16, right? Y'all remember that from that first slide? So do 4 divided by 16. Tell me what you get. Okay, so 0.25. Go ahead and make it a fraction again, because we want to stay away from decimals for this purpose. 1 over 4. So good. So it's going to be a square root of 1 over 4. Any questions like how we got there? All right. Now if you look, I broke this down where I combined these to square root 4 over square root 16, and I put them together and made 4 over 16 under the radical, right? So with this 1 over 4, couldn't I break it back out, like go backwards? Instead of having it all under 1, do the square root of 1 over square root of 4? Wouldn't that be the same thing? So yep, it would be the same thing. So what I'm going to do is say square root of 1 over square root of 4. All right, so I ended up with square root of 1 over square root of 4. Now let's take that and just put it back over here where we're working. Square root of 1 over the square root of 4. And just so you know, I'm doing the long, drawn-out version of this, okay, just so that you're seeing how every step actually works. Okay, when you actually work your homework, it's not going to be nearly this tedious. All right, so now we're back over here. Let's do this. Square root of 1, what does that reduce to, or simplify to? Just 1, right? Square root of 1 is just 1. Over, have our 5. Square root of 4 equals what? 2. So that's 5 times 2 on the bottom, right? What does that simplify to at the end of the day? 1 over 10. So my answer is just 1 over 10. Let's talk about it. So, you know, the other way we could have done it, like I said, I took you the long, drawn-out way. But if we went over here to the side, I'm doing a different color. I'm never do. But if I re-looked at this, square root of 4 equals how much? 2. And square root of 16 is how much? 4. So really, that's just like 2 over 5 times 4, right? And you could have simply done it that way? Okay. Reason I showed you, I broke it all out, is because some of them aren't going to be perfect squares like that. Okay. But if it's just a perfect square, you just say, oh, square root of 4 is just going to be 2. Square root of 16 is just going to be 4. And move on with your, and multiply it and move on with your life. Okay? And that's it then.